All right, good morning, everybody. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Zack Webster giving you the river flooding update for Tuesday, May the 9th, 2023. I want to start out once again by looking at the flooding alerts that we still have in effect around the Western Slope, and it's that same area, the Dolores and the San Miguel rivers, that flood warning and the flood advisory that were both originally supposed to expire at noon yesterday. They have since been extended to Tuesday at 6 p.m. Again, that flood warning still in effect for portions of the Dolores River. This includes Highway 141 and includes the city of Gateway as well. Then farther off toward the southeast, that flood advisory still in effect until 6 o'clock this evening for the Dolores and the San Miguel rivers. That includes places like Naturita, down into Slick Rock, Bedrock, places like that still under that flood of advisory. And before we jump into the actual graphs that we've shown you over the past couple of days, I feel like it's probably a good idea to start bringing up some of the definitions of what these things actually mean. You've seen action stage, you've seen minor flood stage, moderate flood stage, and major flood stage. This comes from the National Weather Service office in Greenville and Spartanburg, South Carolina, but there's several things that we can take away from that and use that here. Typically, whenever a river is considered to be in action stage, you've usually got rivers and streams that are just barely out of their banks, some very minor flooding pretty much right along the edge of the bank. If there's any lower lying areas, may have some standing water in there around those areas. Then as you start heading into minor flood stage, this is usually when you start to see those flood advisories get issued across the region. So for places like the Dolores and the San Miguel rivers, where we still have minor flooding ongoing, flood advisory still in effect. That's when that flooding gets a little bit worse, spreads a little bit farther outside of just right around the riverbanks, and then that continues to increase along with those flood stage categories. Moderate, the flooding gets a bit worse, it gets a bit more spread out, and then major flood stage even worse still. But the action stage is probably the one that people aren't familiar with the most. That's usually when the National Weather Service office will start to issue weather products that will begin to provide information and kind of mitigate some of the effects from flooding once a river hits that action stage. And then as we continue to progress through the flood categories, obviously the flooding gets a little bit worse. So we'll go ahead and jump right in here. We'll start out, just like always, with the Dolores River near Cisco, currently sitting right in that action stage. So that's still some minor flooding ongoing right around the riverbank. But as you can see, as we head throughout the rest of this week, it looks like we'll see those river levels increase back toward moderate flood stage, or at least minor flood stage, with a couple of crests there into moderate stage. So we will still have some flooding ongoing throughout the rest of this week. My guess is if we do get an actual expiry of those flood warnings, it probably won't last very long as the rivers start to rise once again. We had temperatures in the middle to upper 70s yesterday. That was just here in Grand Junction and down into Montrose. Temperature should be another couple of degrees warmer today, so that will mean even more melting of that snowpack in the higher elevations of the region. That will start to run down into the valleys. Another thing we got coming up is a couple of rain chances on the way. One on Thursday. It looks like we may get a couple more into the weekend and early next week as well. If you get some rain heavy enough, that could definitely help add to it, and it looks like we could get some snow in the higher elevations as well, which means more snow that's got to melt and run off into the river. So again, a couple peaks later this week where we could get the Dolores River up into moderate flood stage. And again, if we do ever get that flood warning to expire, we may have to put it right back later this week. There's a look at the Gunnison River near Grand Junction, and the same kind of pattern here as we head throughout the week, and especially into the weekend and early next week with the warmer temperatures, with the rain. We'll see those river levels back on the rise. Looks like we could have a couple peaks there around action stage with a crest sometime Monday night, early Tuesday morning at around 10.32 feet, which is just barely into that action stage. Farther off toward the north, this is the Yampa River near Deer Lodge Park. This is up around Dinosaur National Monument. Again, they were under a flood watch and a flood advisory last week. No active flood alert yet for that region as those water levels continue to fall. But again, there's that same pattern. We head into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Those water levels start increasing, and looks like we'll see a crest of the Yampa River near Deer Lodge Park sometime Saturday morning, well into minor flood stage, and we should have a lot of the same here. This is Elkhead Creek near Hayden. They again were under a flood warning earlier last week, and it looks like we could get a couple more crests there Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday, where we could just barely sneak our way into minor flood stage. So at the very least, it doesn't look like we'll get water levels quite as high as what we saw earlier this week. But again, as those temperatures continue to warm up over the next several weeks to a month, we're definitely going to see the pattern kind of increase here, where we start to see those flooding conditions a little bit more often. Again, just the flood alerts for now in effect. The flood warning for the Dolores River, that includes Highway 141 and Gateway, until 6 o'clock this evening, and the flood advisory for the Dolores and the San Miguel Rivers also until 6 o'clock this evening as those flooding conditions continue. And there's a quick look at the 7-day forecast for Grand Junction. Mostly sunny and warm again today. We'll get those temperatures up close to 80, and while we won't hit 80 in the higher elevations, it'll definitely be warm enough to melt off even more of that snow. And then again, there's those rain chances throughout the end of the work week and into the weekend. If some of those showers get heavy enough, it could further add to that risk, and that's definitely going to be something we're going to be watching here over the next couple of days, both with those warm temperatures and those better rain chances on the way. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll have another video out, and we'll make sure that you guys stay informed. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.